Welcome to
Day
day
11
11.
of the 21-day relational challenge. And I don't know if you noticed this, but we've got a new set.
We are trying out a new set, if you will, today after numerous comments about our office decor and what was really on our walls.
Exactly.
All that kind of stuff.
So anyway, we're just about halfway through this challenge and we have really been enjoying it. It's been fun to kind of work together on this, and we hope that it's been helpful for you. Anyway, yesterday we talked about managing expectations, and how did that go? Were you able to lower the bar on some of what you think you should be accomplishing right now and really have grace for yourselves?
Did anyone try doing the Pomodoro dance?
The Pomodoro.
There you go. There were requests actually for Leanne.
People were like disappointed that we weren't actually dancing. Anyway.
And that is a sight that our kids say should never be seen.
Exactly. Exactly.
Or did you try combining work with something that you love?
Yeah, it's good. It's all about being curious, experimenting, trying different things, but today is all about listening.
Yes. I love hockey. And I'm in some real withdrawal right now. And on Saturday night, I came up to our room, and where Leanne had just finished watching an H&G TV house purchasing show. She is an expert.
I am a total expert on real estate.
I asked for the channel changer, and
I gave it to
you.
You
gave it to me, and I turned on a sports channel, and they were showing a Canucks hockey game from 2011. I knew who had won. I knew how the game ended, and when we picked it up, it was in overtime. And Leanne said to me, "Are you really gonna watch that here?"
Yeah, here. Yeah.
And I said, "I'd really like to." Leanne gave a great big sigh, but then she stepped into it, and as I watched, she started to ask me questions about the players, what was happening in the game, the backdrop of the game, and I felt so heard in that moment. When really she could have said, "I'm out of here." But her actions and her staying with me in that moment met a deeper need in me than just watching a hockey game. I was connected to her and listened to.
Yeah. In this pandemic, we can be incredibly distracted and jittery. And so today your challenge is to stop and listen to your spouse, your kid, your roommate, your friend, whoever is around you. Now, Karen from Facebook says that we only remember between 25 and 50% of what we hear.
Actually, I asked the Google box, and she said that Dick and Delmar said it at the University of Missouri, and what they said was, studies have shown that immediately after listening to a 10-minute oral presentation, the average listener has heard, understood, and retained 50% of what was said, and within 48 hours, that percentage drops to 25% efficiency.
So regardless of who said it, listening is a skill, and we all assume that we've mastered it, but honestly, we kind of suck at it. Remember that self-bias and that negative bias that we talked about from day one? Well, those things are majorly in play as we talk with each other and listen to each other, and it distorts what we think we're hearing. Kind of
like a glitchy Zoom connection.
And so today we're going to challenge you to engage in active listening, where you make a conscious effort to hear not only the words of what someone is saying, but the complete message of what they're trying to communicate. So we're going to share with you some of the things we've learned about listening in our 30 years of marriage. So
this is for all the husbands and wives and families and friends out there. Like this will make a big difference. Stop and pay attention. And this could be finding an unoccupied spot in the house or apartment, maybe putting 2 chairs in a corner of the yard or the deck and use them as your listening chairs, where you have individual meetings with your friends and family. We go for walks, and social distancing is pretty easy in our neighborhood and allows us time and space to talk deeply.
This is actually where we do most of our deep listening to one another, is on walks.
Yeah. In Asia, we would put on our masks and we'd
walk
and talk
and listen.
As young parents, we would put the kids in the car and put on a story CD. Remember those? And talk in the front seat and just talk quietly. We had some of our deepest talks in the bathroom with the door locked and the kids outside.
Exactly. Knock, 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 knock. Mom, Dad.
You want to reduce distractions. Put your phone down, your tech down.
All your tech away.
And turn towards your loved one with an open posture. Look at them, pay attention, and watch for cues in their body language and expression. We call it reading the room.
Read the room. Sometimes we're not so good at that, but
and even like last night, Leanne said, "I'm having trouble reading the room right now. What are you saying?"
Yeah, exactly. So then we listen. And the listening is actually the hardest part. Often when we listen, we're formulating what we're going to say next. And so you are listening for their words, but you're also listening for the message of what they're trying to tell you.
Ask one more question. Go a little deeper. I'm curious about what you're saying with this.
Yeah.
No,
that's awesome. Just when they say something, to actually pick up on it and then ask a question. Then defer judgment. Our first judgment response often misses the nuances of what someone's trying to communicate. I mean, in our earlier years of marriage, bless our hearts, we would literally shut each other down with judgment. Either we'd get defensive or we would more often
think that we knew what the other person was going to say.
Exactly,
right
because
now.
we know them so well, right? And so actually we had each other in a box thinking we already knew. But, sometimes others will surprise us. Now, if you really want to get fancy,
reflect back to them what you heard them say. And this is what we do when we're struggling to communicate, and it actually acts as a signal to our spouse or our family
that we're missing something here. So something I'll say to Darcy is, what have you heard me saying?
And I'll say what I think I heard you say was,
it's a signal that we have in our relationship where, hey, something's out of sync here. So yeah.
If it's a deep personal conversation, journal it. Mm-hmm. If it's a work thing, take notes, written notes, and put a date on it. I love my Moleskine professional notebook for this. It's so helpful to me. And there is something that happens to stimulate memory when we physically write it down.
Right. What you're doing is you're listening for needs throughout the conversation, which actually gives you an opportunity to respond with a loving, selfless act. Last Saturday night, did I want to watch a hockey game from 2011? I hate to break this to you, but I didn't want to do that. But I heard something in Darcy that this was more than hockey. This was about meeting some sort of need. And it was then a no-brainer because I was paying attention and going, yeah, this is something I can easily do. And I should get a Wife of the Year award, I think, for sitting through that game. But
and I love your commitment that you made to me, where you said, okay, when Darcy starts to talk hockey, I'll give him at least a minute, and I know that. And
I never used to do that. I would tune out, but now I'm like, okay, I'm going to ask one more question.
And your actions demonstrated to me that it was significant for me.
Right.
There was this act of love in your listening and doing something with it.
It's so interesting to think of like listening as a loving act, right? It's beautiful. So in our crazy 24/7 information news cycle, social media, COVID-19 age, listening is actually one of the greatest gifts that we can give people in this moment. So your challenge is to practice the skill of listening. We know you think you're really good at it, but at best you are mediocre, just like everybody else.
Wow,
so,
you are laying it down.
I know, laying it down. So choose a partner, your spouse, your roommate, your kid, your parent, whoever's close to you, and then take turns being the listener and the listenee and talk.
So then debrief it. Take turns answering these questions. What was the conversation like for you? Was it easy or difficult? Did you need to fight the urge to jump in? What was the conversation like for your dialogue partner? Ask them, Did you feel heard? This is
That's a
scary question. And I have not gotten the answer I was hoping for in several staff meetings. If you want some inspiration, watch A Beautiful Day in Your Neighborhood and learn from Mr. Rogers. A few tears. He was a genuine listening rock star.
So tomorrow our subject is, hey, your crack is showing. Which is kind of funny. We'll unpack what that means, but it's all about dysfunctional areas of our relationships because we all have them.
And they start to show themselves.
They start to show themselves in stress. So stay tuned for tomorrow and remember,
together,
you've got this.
Over and out.